Welcome back to Paul and Benny. Today we're making the tastiest, prettiest pumpkin spice sugar cookies you've probably ever had. You need no special skills to make them, and you're going to make somebody's day with these tasty treats. All exact measurements are listed in the caption below. We're starting off with some sugar and some butter. It's salted butter, and we're going to whip it until it's nice and light and fluffy. You're going to need to stop and scrape down the sides and get really good under the bottom of the bowl to make sure there's no granules of sugar left unincorporated. Once you do that, go ahead and start to whip it again. It's going to get lighter in color. It's going to increase in volume. You need 1 egg, and I would make sure it's room temperature. Some vanilla, a whole tablespoon. It's a lot, but vanilla's good. Next, we're adding some pumpkin pie spice, some baking powder, and some salt. We're going to whisk it up, make sure there's no clumps, make sure everything's really well distributed. And then, we're going to add our butter mixture. Every bit of it. Now we're going to mix it until it's just combined. You want to make sure there's no bits of flour left in the bottom of the bowl, but we don't have to beat it too much. It's going to look crumbly, that's okay. When you squeeze it though, you'll see it holds together in a nice form. Now for the parchment paper, you stay right there. You stay right there. And we're going to dump our flour out. Our dough. We're going to pat it into a nice disc-like patty. We're going to get all the edges pulled in together so we don't have any raggedy edges. We want to make nice clean cuts here. Once we have a nice disc-like shape, we're going to roll it out just a little bit. Get it to about 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick, depending how thick you want your cookies. Now I'm sliding it onto a cookie sheet. I'm going to pop it in the freezer for about 10 minutes. Okay, I let my dough freeze way longer than expected, but it's perfectly fine. It's frozen solid, we have nice sharp edges. You could actually cut out your cookies now, layer them between paper in a bag, and freeze them whenever you want. Pull out a few, bake them, have fresh baked cookies whenever you want. But we're going to go ahead with what we have. Cut out just enough for today. We're going to bake them in a hot oven, 350 degrees, for 8 to 15 minutes. Mine went almost 13 because they were so cold. These are some big cookies. They've been out of the oven about 10 minutes on the cookie sheet, and we're just going to transfer them to a wire rack and let them cool down the rest of the way there. Want to make sure the edges stay a little bit crisp. Make sure they're completely cool so the icing doesn't melt at all. Check out the beautiful golden edges. It's tender, soft, just barely brown on the underside. It's nicely spiced. It's heavily perfumed with vanilla, but it's not overpowering at all. Let me get the cookie out of my mouth. It's a really good classic sugar cookie, but you get that pumpkin spice front and center. It's so tasty. It sets it apart from the sugar cookies at the store. It's a beautiful texture. It's just barely crispy around the edges, but it's soft and tender in the middle. You're gonna love these. Now for our delicious icing. Got some powdered sugar, some room temperature butter, and some room temperature cream cheese. It's been sitting out for a couple hours. Oh, and some vanilla. And we're going to beat it till it's light and fluffy. We want this a lot lighter and smoother than a traditional cream cheese icing. I'm thinking more of light buttercream. Mom always say clean as you go. I've never been good at it. Anyways, be sure to give it a little help at the beginning. Get the butter, the sugar mixed together. It makes it a lot easier to whip it with the mixer. A little milk or cream, maybe a teaspoon and a half. Just enough to loosen things up, get it nice and fluffy. We're going to beat it more than you'd expect. We want to incorporate lots of air. We want this to be really, really light. It's so good. I'm adding some copper gel food color here, but I like to play with my colors, so I'm adding some yellow, some burgundy, make things interesting. Then I'm going to mix it in really, really well, keeping in mind that it's going to darken a little bit once it dries. So give it a mix, see if you like it. I want it more saturated than that, so in goes some more copper and give it another mix. Now to make them pretty, just like you. We're going to put quite a bit of frosting on top of the cookie. We can always scrape it off if we have too much, but it makes it easier to spread and easier to get it even. Put a big mound on there and swirl it around. Don't be scared, you can't mess this up. You can either leave it with big swoops and swirls, or you can go back and smooth it out a little bit. Whatever you prefer. I do both. Oops. And clean up the edges if you need to. Breaking up pretzel sticks to make the stem. I'm just attaching them with a little dab of buttercream here. Not only is it pretty, adds some extra texture, adds a salty little bit to your cookie, just keeps things interesting, and it looks really cool. Those extra little touches make such a difference. This next design is for those that really love icing. You've put some buttercream in a bag, make a little mound, and pull it down flat. You don't have to have any experience to do this. If it doesn't look good, scrape it off. Just make a mound, pull it down flat. Make a mound, pull it down flat. You'll have this down by the time you finish your first cookie. It helps if you chill it a little bit too. And you're going to make mistakes, so don't get mad. I'm not bragging. But look, it's already getting pretty. And another stem. You can also brush the stems with gold if you want an added touch. Oh, about the gold. We've got some luster dust powder. Get the edible one at the cake decorating store or online. There's a link below. Add a little bit of vodka. Just a couple drops. To liquefy it, you should use a paintbrush, but I couldn't find it, so I'm using a pipe cleaner here. Just to make it liquidy, and we're going to splatter it on our cookie. I figure if you're going to give something to someone else, do a little extra. Make it worth your effort. Let them know they're really special, and that's why you made it. Okay, fancy. Oh, and I want to fix that mistake real quick too. Just a toothpick. And finally, for those people like me that really don't love the icing, they just want a delicious cookie, we're brushing the whole surface in gold. I love using the pipe cleaner for this because it gets in all the nooks and crannies. We're spreading it all the way to the edge, and the vodka evaporates so quickly, it's leaving no flavor behind. It's not going to get soggy, it's going to dry nearly instantly. You know you're special when someone gives you a golden cookie, right? There you have it, pumpkin spice sugar cookies with cream cheese icing. They're delicious, they're gilded with gold, they're easy to make. People will think you bought them at a fancy bakery or you spent hours and hours making them. I hope you make these and share them with someone you love. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, be sure you subscribe, and share the video with someone else who loves delicious cookies. Of course, we're grateful for delicious cookies, but more than that, we're grateful for you watching.